God took us out of Egypt. That's half the story. The other half is taking the Egypt out of ourselves. And for that, we can get help. We got a lot of help, but it's something that we have to do ourselves. I got the idea for the thoughts that I'll be sharing with you in this short video from watching another video by a rabbi I like to watch on YouTube. Was telling about his family story. He is the son of Holocaust survivors. Both his father and his mother survived the camps. But beyond that fact, which they had in common, they had a very huge, tremendous difference in their approach or in their attitude towards the Holocaust that they endured. His father spoke about the Holocaust nonstop, from Good Morning Holocaust and Have a Good Breakfast Holocaust, all the way through the evening. That's all he would talk about, is his stories from those days. But his mother didn't say a word, didn't say a single word about what she went through. Now, we know that trauma often causes people to simply repress the things that traumatize them and not speak about them. But then they come back and burst forth with an energy of their own, usually in a very damaging way. And this is what happened to the Jews, to the children of Israel, when they left Egypt. They were out of Egypt. God, in a miraculous intervention in history, took the Jews out of Egypt. But the Egypt, the idolatry, the slave mentality, the flesh pots, and so on and so forth, remained within the people. They didn't take the Egypt out of themselves, and so the Egyptian residue burst forth most spectacularly, of course, in the episode of the golden calf. The Torah is meant to help us take the Egypt out of ourselves. So how does this work? Well, one of the things, if the sign of someone who has emerged from this trauma and who has sort of resolved his own or her own issues with it is their ability to talk about it, then talking about it with them, counseling people, gently prodding them and getting them to speak about what they underwent is a form of therapy. And so what this rabbi suggested, not speaking in terms of therapy, but in terms of more general insight, that this is the reason behind Chazal's urging us to spend as much time as possible in the Seder talking about the Exodus, not simply to recite the Haggadah, but to talk about the Exodus, talk about our freedom, talk about our shirking off, casting off all the bad things that were absorbed by the Jews in the hundreds of years of their living in Egypt. In the famous statement, Kol ha'ma'abel saper b'tziat Mitzrayim harei meshubach. Whoever talks more about the Exodus from Egypt, this is praiseworthy. In other words, the more we talk about the Exodus, the more we talk about our being free not just from physical slavery, but mental bondage and spiritual bondage, and being tied and subservient to our bodily urges and our bodily lusts, to being too willing to absorb the values of the ambient culture, which are often very contradictory to our own Jewish values and detrimental to them. This is what the Seder is meant to accomplish. One day in the year, we have a ritual performance of speaking and acting out our freedom to help take the Egypt out of us, to get us de-traumatized from this experience of slavery, of bondage, of being subservient to some other culture that we consider because of our low self-esteem to be superior to our own. So I thought this was a very interesting idea, and I thought I'd share it with you, and I hope that you find it useful and enlightening in some way, and have a wonderful Chag, what's ever left of it, and a great spring and summer, and of course, Shabbat Shalom.